resolution earlier this year to get back in shape. Unfortunately, I've had to work crazy hours, and by the time I get off work, the gyms are already closed. That changed when I was driving home at night and saw a gym sign saying, "Now open 24/7. I decided to pull up, grabbed my bag from the trunk, and headed inside. I almost turned around because there was no one at the front desk and literally no one in the gym either. Half the fluorescents were on and there was music playing, so I figured the employee was on a break or something, and I went to the locker room to get changed. Everything was a mess. The free weights were all over the place, yoga mats had come undone, cleaning bottles had all been knocked over, and one of them had leaked all over the treadmill. It just looked like the gym had been open all day and the employee had said, "Screw it, I'm not cleaning this mess." So I just hopped on the elliptical and started my workout. I was about 15 minutes in when the battery on my iPod finally died. At least there was music playing, some hip-hop song I've never heard of before. I could have sworn I heard something in the silence between songs, and that sounded like a whimper. But I convinced myself it was just the side effect of a creepy empty gym. That was my mistake. I went back to lifting weights when suddenly the power went out, but only for a second. To be honest, it scared me half to death. I nearly dropped the bar I was holding. As soon as the lights came back on, I was able to hear the whimpers I thought I heard earlier. It drew my attention to the supply closet near the main desk. I grabbed the free weight just in case, approached the door, and loudly asked, "You okay in there?" The whimpering stopped immediately, like the person on the other side was trying to conceal their presence. She looked like a student, 19, 20. She was wearing an employee t-shirt and was curled up in the far corner of the room. I tossed the weight aside and lifted my hands to show her I meant no harm, and she kinda just stared at me for a few seconds before she got this glint of recognition in her eyes. She got up briskly, grabbed my arm and said, "We have to get out of here now." I tried to explain that I needed to change, but she wouldn't hear it. She only stopped when I pointed out I left my car keys in my locker. I heard her whisper that there was no time, but she looked like she was weighing things in her mind. "Okay," she decided. "We'll go together, but we have to leave before it comes back." The word "it" caught my attention. It was about 11 p.m. and she hadn't seen a customer in over an hour. She was bored, so she started tidying up, putting the weights back in place, when all of a sudden, she heard the bar from the bench crash to the ground. She figured the last person who used it hadn't placed it back on the rack properly. She was sure someone was running around and making a mess and then dodging out of sight. She tried looking at the mirrors to try and catch them in the act. She caught a silhouette standing on the opposite side of the gym. All of a sudden, a weight was being thrown across the floor. Weights flew past her. She ducked into the nearby supply closet and tried to hide. She could hear objects pelting against the door. There was a loud knock, and then it all went quiet. She sat there in horror for a few minutes before she mustered the courage to leave. But something was blocking the door. She couldn't see very well out of the crack, but it looked like one of the weight machines had been dragged all the way to the closet and had been dropped there. And then there was me, around midnight, entering the gym. Now I've got to be honest, there was nothing blocking the door to the supply closet when I got there. I don't know if she imagined it or if it got moved or what. That's why I was a little skeptical and why I was reluctant to believe her story. I was ready to dismiss the whole thing, but as we left the locker room and headed towards the front door, I ran into the gym, only to find the mirrors shattered into pieces, with not a soul in sight. The employee walked over and put a hand on my shoulder, urging me to leave. I wanted to. I really did, but I became rooted into the ground in horror. I swear to you on everything I hold dear, as I stood over those hundreds of broken chunks of mirror, I could see our reflections staring back at us from every angle. And in some of them, only some, I saw a dark figure standing behind us.